So I love Ryan for many reasons, but like the Southern accent, dude, is just, we're going to get so many, man, bring that boy back and talk about dude.
And his text said, it's Cowboy Curtis, dummy.
Right then and there, I dedicated my life. And then after the service, you guys came down with Micah. I got to meet the three of y'all. Just this group of guys. I told myself, I'm not going back to the Southern Baptist Church again. I'm not coming to this church for the girls. I'm going over there because those guys are cool and I love them.
Welcome back, everyone, to another conversation with your friends, Rhett and Justin, right here at Armchair Authentic, where we're keeping it real with conversations about real life with real people, stewarding our stories and even our conversations in a way that serve you. And today, can I be honest, man, you're in for a treat. We have a longtime friend of ours joining us on this episode. His name is Ryan Jennings. I tell you what, my friends, we cannot wait to get into this. So without further ado, our conversation begins right now. All right, Justin, I am super stoked today. We got a good friend of ours. He's not a guest, he's family, he's friends. If you've been listening to this conversation for any length of time, you have heard the name Ryan Jennings. If you haven't, go back and listen. Ryan, it is so good to have you in the Armchair Authentic studio at my house today.
Oh, man, thank you so much.
Yeah, we've mentioned Ryan quite a few times. I mean, this is cool for me because I always have my cool for me because why, and here's why. You know, Rhett, everybody knows this. We're best friends, 30, 40 years now. I think
they don't know this. If this is your first time listening, we've known each other 30
We're closing into, it's 40 years, I think, 40. Now. Yeah, in a few days.
That's crazy.
Yeah, maybe at the time of this airing, it might be very close. It might be your birthday.
I don't know when this was released. What are you trying to say? We are 47 right now at the same time. So you live it up. We're the same age, buddy.
For a little bit longer. But the cool thing is, Rhett, obviously us going so far back, he was best man on my wedding. But I've never said this on our episode before. But I had a co-best man deal at my wedding.
Yeah, you did.
And Ryan, it's just so cool because I'm talking to my two guys.
Come on,
Rhett was the responsible one that did the best man duties to make sure that that
are you selling out our friend right now? Is that what you're doing? Come on, Ryan played his part.
Ryan brought the party.
Imagine that.
But no, it's cool, Ryan, to have you in the studio. My two best men in my wedding 25 years ago. It's crazy, dude.
Can I be very honest and just be truthful? I that's all a blur to me. I would not have even remembered that.
I wasn't either.
Okay.
I know. No, I wasn't expecting like some moment that we're about to rekindle the flame.
I was like, what's happening? I was like, oh, we were best men. We were co-best men. Wow. Yeah. I'm like, sure we were. Of course we were. That moment was such a big day for me. It was all about me.
Rhett, you were nonstop that day. You like the whole whole family.
We were all nonstop.
Our whole family though would talk like Rhett when it ended. Rhett was making sure everything was cleaned up. He was making sure. I still remember everybody saying, "Wait," like Tommy, Summer's mom. She'd be like, "Well, Rhett, help me load." She had this van. Yeah. Rhett loaded the van of all y'all's presents. I don't know what we'd have done without Rhett. You were the one who like stayed. Yeah. And then Ryan, I think, met maybe one of the bridesmaids. And they went,
easy killer.
Right, wait, hold on. Ryan's like, hold on, wait a minute. No,
I'm kidding. The reason why.
This is a horrible setup for you, Ryan.
No kidding. Welcome to the podcast. We're going to butcher you.
Yeah.
It's Roast Ryan hour. I mean, hey, can I just tell you, we're co-best men. Ryan did nothing.
Ryan did nothing.
I don't even remember being there.
Ryan raised the glass and make sure that we were honored at our rehearsal dinner. He got the toast going of our grape juice. I mean, I remember it. It was my wedding.
Well, you remember everything, though. You're like the master of memory. Hey, on June 12th of 1998.
Yeah.
It was a Wednesday, and we were at the park in Center Point, and Ryan had on a purple shirt. Like that's just
it's ridiculous. I'm glad I'm not the only one now saying that. It's so ridiculously true. What's cool about Ryan, and you've been such a kind of, we were talking about this yesterday on the golf course because you and I had a chance randomly went to play golf. We can talk about that in a minute, but I was sitting there going, Ryan, I don't even remember like how we even met, because I know how Justin and I met, and then we were involved in church, and I'm just so for the story for our friends on the podcast, because in my opinion, depending on what you want to do from this moment forward, we'd love to have you back. I'm already just saying it'd be so fun,
yeah,
because you've just been a part of our story, and so this podcast is really designed in a way for us to steward our stories, our relationships, in every connection along the way, in a way that serves people. And your story, like, first of all, this guy's an incredible musician, hands down.
Oh, brother.
I play keyboard. This brother plays like on a whole nother level.
Yeah.
Like I play this, but this brother plays.
Ryan
like,
reminds me, there's an artist out there named Tommy Prophet, and he produces a lot of people's
Favorite
albums.
producer.
Really?
Wow. Yes.
Seriously.
What a small world,
Are
man.
you being serious?
Yeah.
You're like Tommy Prophet to me, and no one
What a
understands
compliment,
the
man.
greatness of Ryan Jennings.
Well, so
It's pretty amazing.
I wanted to just bring into context. So not only a good friend, but you're a great musician. We played in bands together. We've worshiped together and done a lot of just fun things. A lot of crazy stories too along the way, which maybe we might get into, which are a lot of fun to laugh about. Ryan's perspective on our life and our journey is going to be different than what you've heard us say, and that's what I love. It's like reading the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. It's all kind of the same story, but it's told from different perspectives.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to kind of get into some stories, maybe relive some moments, and go, "Oh man, I don't remember that. That's awesome." So this is what we're doing. So amazing musician. Incredible father. I mean, dude, just so proud of you for what you've done in fatherhood and taking care of your son. And that's a story in and of itself. We can get into that as a single father right now. Just so proud of you, man. You're crushing it.
Thank you.
And you've just been so consistent. Your story is your story. And I'm really just looking forward, honestly, Justin and Ryan, just to kind of the direction this goes. And this is a to be continued conversation.
Man. There's too many stories.
Too many. So I don't even know where to start.
You were saying, I think I remember where you and Ryan met.
Well, he clarified it for me yesterday.
I clarified it.
What did you clarify?
So talk about how you ended up in our lives.
So I think I was at Gestate. I was a Gestate singer maybe 1 year before Rhett came on.
And that's a community college here in Birmingham.
Community college here. Yeah. And it was after our first, maybe.
Because y'all both graduated in 95.
1995 high school.
It was
Y'all are a
95,
year ahead of me.
96. And for all the listeners, I love how y'all always, for the listeners out there, this is Birmingham, Alabama.
Yeah, right.
Or as Justin says it, Birmingham, Alabama.
I love Ryan for many reasons, but like the Southern accent, dude, is just, we're going to get so many compliments. Like, man, bring that boy back and talk about this. Man, there's some good stuff, man. Rhett. We got like Rick and Bubba on. Like, this is great.
Well, Ryan doesn't hold back because he sent me a text yesterday.
Yeah.
And his text said, "It's Cowboy Curtis, dummy."
In reference to Pee Wee Herman's Playhouse.
I kept saying Cowboy Bob like 3 times, and it's like,
it's Lawrence Fishburne. I mean,
that's
come
the
on,
actor.
guys.
Yeah, that's the actor. Yeah.
Morpheus, the Matrix, Cowboy Bob Curtis.
I mean, 2 first names. Anyway, so your accent, I love it, man. I mean, like, so for our friends who live, in all over the country and even around the world, they're dialing and going, man, can you let that guy talk for a little bit?
Exactly.
Just read a book or something for me.
We're about to get a dose of it anyway. Here we go.
All right, I want to hear the story how y'all met.
I think I was at I think they call it senior week. It's primarily for, high school seniors. They go to the beach and they, party, have a good time. And me and a group of my guys were down there. We were having a good time.
Yeah. This is pre-Jesus?
No, not pre-Jesus.
Pre-surrender.
Yeah. Pre-surrender.
Yeah. So I believe Christ is my Lord and Savior, but as far as the choices you were making, it might be a little questionable. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So we were down there kind of looking for the honeys, so to speak, I guess. And we ran across 3 young ladies that were from Birmingham. They invited us to church.
Oh, say who they are. They're friends of ours.
Well, Amy, Becca, and Joy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep. Shout out to Amy,
So,
Becca, and Joy.
It was crazy because I would lived here my whole life. I'd never met them before, and we all thought that they were cute. And what did they do? They invited us to church when we got back home.
So what are you going to do? Somebody that's cute invites you to church.
It was,
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So
I didn't either.
It was the community 4th of July service at New Covenant Fellowship. Because remember, Guiding Light would come, Parkway, Cathedral, and New Covenant. All the choirs would get up and sing, and then these knuckleheads called 24/7 got up and sang.
All right. Come on, shout out to Micah. Come on, Micah.
No, but it was pretty incredible. You know, I was raised in the Baptist church, and I've taken communion 1,000 times. Yeah. And I was a little wayward at the time, but went to the church to find these girls or whatever. And it was Lester, Pastor Lester. What was his last name?
I don't know.
Oh, man.
You're going to ask me.
Oh, my gosh.
I barely remember Pastor Lester.
Is it Smith?
No.
Sure.
Lester.
Just keep going.
Yeah, Pastor Lester. It was awesome because it was a community-wide worship service in Southern Baptist. I'd never heard Pentecostal music. So, and you know, the reference to music at the beginning of the podcast, that was incredible to me to hear Christian music in that. Yeah. You know, in that light. Yeah. And so I was sitting there, I was like, oh my goodness, what's going on? I mean, I felt the Lord and everything. And then the guy gets up and Lester's like, we're going to do communion. And I've heard it 1,000 times. Examine yourself before you take communion. If you do it without asking for forgiveness, you bring judgment on yourself. Yeah. And I was like, man, for the first time in my life, I don't feel like I'm worthy of taking communion. And it was just an eye-opening experience.
Wow.
Yeah, and so right then and there, I dedicated my life. I didn't go up to the front, you know, the altar or anything like that. I just said, I'm going to get my life right. And then had communion. And then after the service, you guys came down with Micah. I got to meet the three of y'all. I went to church for girls for the wrong thing. And then all the music and just this group of guys from Parkway Christian. I told myself, I said, I'm not going back to the Southern Baptist Church again. I'm not coming to this church for the girls. I'm going over there because those guys are cool and I love them.
Oh, man. Really? Yeah. So cool. Well, first of all, shout out then to Amy, Becca, and Joy because it just has the power like to get really you to go to church. That happened to me in 93. There was a girl I went to the beach for and I came back and I was in love with Jesus.
Really?
And so I've never heard that. Yeah. I never knew.
I thought you would have been like, oh, dude, I remember this. Here it is.
Yeah, you think Ryan just showed up at Parkway and everything?
No, I would have said there is something I'll say in a little while that I thought it was, but it's now I'm aligning how you ended up where I ended up. I was going to start the story, so keep going.
Yeah. Well, with that though, visually speaking, so like the haircuts that are really popular right now on these kids, where it's just a mop on somebody's head. You know what I mean? Like you had the curliest blonde hair, and if I remember, it was maybe shaved a little bit. But you just like boom, like it was great. It was just curly. I was like, dude, this, and you're always in your soccer digs, man. You know,
and I'm sitting here bald and fat today.
Yeah, no, come on, man. For the listeners, that's not true.
Because not that you're a great musician, but you're a phenomenal soccer player. And I was just like always blown away watching you jump and kick the ball like upside down, flip and like kick it and
amazing,
like
soccer
crazy
player.
Stuff. I'm like, who is this guy? This is nuts.
Well, see, that's the first time. If you take me back to the beginning, I played soccer my whole life, and when I began auditioning, trying out for competitive leagues, I would make this team, and there was another team that we would practice across the field from, and Ryan played, and it was Hewitt Trustville, the Hewitt Huskies. Yeah. But it was the club team, like Premier and Classic.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I felt like I was watching a professional player.
And it was me playing with my team, and Ryan would play with his team. Mine was Pruitt, you were Tharp. Yeah. And we would scrimmage each other all the time. And so I always remember, they always called him RJ.
You got your butt kicked.
And we hung in there. I think you got, don't get us going right now.
You got your butt kicked. Rhett and Justin's like, I have never played at this level. This is making me better.
The reason their team was so good is because they played up
level. Yeah.
They played up to their competition.
Yes.
It's so true. No, I was gonna. Now I don't know if I want to brag on him. But it's not Ryan's fault that Rhett. No, I'm kidding.
I mean,
Ryan's a phenomenal soccer player.
Justin,
when I went from where I was at Parkway. Great guys. That was my entourage. When I played for this summer league one time for St. Barnabas, like I ended up in this Catholic
that's a name
school.
I haven't heard in a while.
It was a Catholic school. I got invited to be a part of this sports festival, and I began playing for it. Yeah. And all I remember is I think you guys played for like the Birmingham Stars, Shooting Stars. And it was Coach Pruitt coaching. And I remember being in Mobile one year. And y'all came in first, we came in third, but we never played each other. And I just remember thinking, like, there's another level of soccer.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And I was really good in my rec league.
That's the level I realize I suck. What am I doing?
When I tried out for that level, I remember looking around the field and thinking like, I'm around a bunch of people who are a lot better than me.
Yeah.
And it ended up being the biggest growth year of my life in soccer. And Ryan was on this other team.
Yeah.
And he was fast. He was, you have your players who are power players, but you have finesse. Ryan was the kind of guy, like he literally could do anything with his body. He would head the ball and it looked so cool coming off curly hair.
Dude.
He could bicycle kick it. He'd do a backwards flip.
Slow motion.
He was very finesse. And I was more like power.
Yeah, Ryan and I were talking about yesterday. We were catching up on somebody like, dude, we got to talk about some of this on the podcast. And one of it was like, do you remember the pickup games of soccer we used to do? Like, think about it. We were talking about we didn't have phones on us. I think maybe if we were cool, we had a beeper at the day. If you know what dating is,
Yeah.
But like, how in the world did we even find out about these pickup games? But we would somehow, some way, end up. Next thing we know, it's like a Thursday, Wednesday. I don't know what day it was. But we're out playing pickup games at random soccer fields.
Random fields that had nets.
Yeah. Do you remember those days?
Oh, yeah.
All summer. I mean, it would be all summer long in the heat of the day.
We weren't thinking,
And we just went after it.
Yeah.
And so I remember Ryan in those early days. So I knew of him, but we never really just stopped and talked.
Yeah.
We just knew of each other on the field.
So he shows up at Parkway.
He
due to this
shows
reason.
up after he told this story about meeting the 3 girls and goes to New Covenant, surrenders his life to Christ. You begin coming to Parkway. All I remember is we still didn't connect a lot with you, but it would have been the summer of '96 that we had started these random courthouse prayers.
Yeah.
Where we would go,
Oh, my
we would
gosh.
go to the courthouse and just pray. And it was something that me and a guy named Nathan Bird, shout out to Nathan Bird.
Come on, Nate.
Shout out Nate Dogg.
Nate T.
He came with me and we would just go and we would pray for an hour. It was like 6:30 to 7:30. And then little by little, more people would come. Well, we built that thing. It ended up being 65 people who would come.
Yeah.
But I remember in the midst of there somewhere, you showed up on a morning.
That's how you remember him showing up?
That's my
Yeah.
memory. I remember kind of meeting him early on when he came to church.
Yeah.
But it was almost like that was the moment I knew like he's actually in it to be more connected.
Yeah.
Because you came to that and just
I think that's where I
was
remember it, just
amazing.
feeling like people were showing up and you were there and knew you from soccer too. But
Yeah.
it was
I just
amazing.
remember him he was worshiping. I remember him worshiping on the pine straw.
What? How,
Like he literally he was on the ground, face to the ground, and just worshiping God.
these
And
were like sunrise moments.
these
Yeah,
are
it was
sunrise
really
moments.
early.
There's people walking the track.
Think about this. Nobody asked us to do this.
Nope.
We just decided somehow, some way. You probably spearheaded it, Justin, because you're a lot more spiritual than I ever was. Like it was like you're all in, and I'm like, I'm just trying to catch up. You know, he's got his Bible open, digging in, highlighting. And I'm like, I don't know, whatever. Anyways, we end up going up there. We're taking guitars and stuff, and in a courthouse again. Nobody told us. We thought, why not go to the courthouse? Why the courthouse? I don't know. We think it's an influential place.
Yeah.
You know, it's where you get your driver's license. Awesome. Let's go there.
It's true.
And we weren't there to like minister to people.
I think it was because it was so convenient. I think there was a desire for prayer and that personal growth and relationship with the Lord, and we all had such a connection with each other.
Yeah.
There were guys that were in Pinson. There were guys that were in Chalkville, guys down in Center Point, and I think that was just a convenient place for us to go.
It was great because we had just gotten back from a beach trip, and people were just
like when you say
naturally
beach trip,
fired
are you
up.
talking about a youth retreat?
Yes.
I should clarify.
Yeah.
It was our youth retreat. So, you've separated yourself from everything else. So you have just read your Bible. You've been worshiping. You were fired up for the Lord, and you come back, and it was just something we kind of kept going, and more people would hear about it, and it would have our church, we'd have other churches coming. But I do remember that moment watching you worship, and people would walk by, and it was like, you didn't even care. We were just on the ground, just worshiping. And we would leave there and go grab breakfast or go to somebody's apartment.
Well, this was summertime for sure. So none of us
all
had
day.
jobs that early in the morning, but we decided to get up and do all that you're saying. And I think I remember it was what you were saying, Ryan. We had there was a hunger and thirst for the righteousness of God in our lives. There was this passion for his presence, and not in a very overly spiritualized way, but in a very real, authentic thing that was filling our lives in a way that was bringing fulfillment. Where we were trying to find that in other ways, as teenagers normally do.
Yeah.
We finally felt we knew like this is the source of life. And so for us, it was like, what's the word? Cultivate this in a way and keep it alive. And we would use, that was back when the word fire was a big thing. Cultivate the fire, fan the flame, keep it going.
Light the fire again.
We were like, whatever's happening right now, we don't want to lose. So let's just, while we can, make the most of it. And it was a natural thing. Again, I think that just goes back to like, what
we were experiencing, we were 18, 19 years old. We were just now not recognizing. Sometimes you stay like young boys, but you don't realize you're becoming leaders.
Were we that old then?
Oh yeah, it was the summer of '96. I had just graduated high school. You guys were a year into Jeff State Singers.
Okay, all right, yeah.
And so,
wow.
But yeah, so we're there, and we're beginning to do this. All I remember is it would grow. Usually, this is a reference more to the past.
Yeah.
But anytime, like we literally were like the uneducated guys, but it was like powerful things were happening.
Yeah.
But what I always noticed, it grew to a point that I guess, the church we were associated with at that time was like, let's get some eyes on that.
Oh, of course.
And so
we got to come in and bring accountability to this. I mean, it's growing. We don't want to let this out of our control.
Yeah. And no shot to the authority.
As I roll my eyes.
No shot to the authority. But when they came, it literally is like it died down.
Yeah.
It did.
And then I remember launching another one at a house at Jason's house. We grew up to about 100. Authority steps in, it died. It died.
Well,
I use the word authority loosely.
Yeah, listen. We have submission to authority, and we recognize the biblical truth of that. But I think there was something to be learned about that type of culture in those moments. Looking back, it's like, guys, like don't let God do what He does. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, let things go. And I think that's hopefully something we're learning now, to let things just go and let us make some mistakes along the way. There needs to be the moments of like, hey, let me father you as a good father would, not to control this, but to like empower you and to help you. But I don't know, man. I don't know. I can't speak for
you guys literally,
but it's just,
you just finished talking about this in the podcast I listened to yesterday about letting your identity be in that performance or whatever.
Yeah.
And how wonderful it would have been to have somebody guide you through that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would have been wonderful,
but not in a forceful like behavior modification type way, but a heart transformation way of going, hey, I'm coming alongside you.
We're not trying to babysit you. We want to coach you in this.
It's empowerment versus like control.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a complete different, and there's a fine line there.
It is,
But it's interesting you do mention that. I've never thought through that perspective, but you're right. Like it would grow and then it would get extinguished.
Yeah.
Because it was multicultural, yes, but multi-church.
Multi-churches
there's
also.
Several different churches. And so I can only imagine from the perspective of the pastors who youth are going to this and like, wait a minute, this is kind of getting out of control.
Yeah.
We got our own youth going to something that's not church sanctioned.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that church too, whom we may agree or disagree theologically, but it's like, guys, just let you remember the book of Acts? Pretty much a mess, but look how powerful it was.
It was so powerful. And what I remember just, we in our own right will communicate. We still do to this day, but what we had in common too is we were worship leaders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And along with, throwing the name out again, Micah. But I remember we kind of would do this. And this was the beautiful part about it. It wasn't like a name. Let's say if I start that, it wasn't like my name. It was all of us. And you would have a rotation. Do you remember we rotated every week?
Mm-hmm.
Like the worship leader would be like, all right, it's Rhett's, all right, it's Ryan's week.
Yeah,
It's Justin's, it's Micah's. Yeah. And we had this beautiful rotation going on, and you would just worship. We would have a speaker from another church come in, or one of us would end up speaking. But there was such great cultivation of really cutting our teeth on this calling that we were stepping into. Wow. Really beautiful. So when I look at the positives of that, when we're talking about how we got to know each other with you, Ryan, those are some of the deepest connections for me. Yeah, it's pretty sweet times.
Yeah, it's very, very few and far between. You meet someone with that type of connection when you're older in life. Yeah. And there's a lot of people that didn't even make connections like that when they were out of high school.
Yeah.
So it's a very rare thing. I love the fact that the whole entire podcast is, it's connections, relationships. It's just an ongoing theme that I hear in a lot of the episodes, and it's amazing to have been a part of something like that from so long ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I remember times I went through a really dark time. It wasn't necessarily doing anything. It just felt like the light was out. Like just God was as close. I can look back and see what I've learned over the years. He was closer than ever, but my feels were gone. Mm-hmm. And Ryan, I remember one night that you started this prayer meeting in your parents' house. Mm-hmm. And it would happen every Tuesday or something. Mm-hmm. And we would have a bunch of guys that would show up, and it would be like 20 or 30 people. And I remember I was a little resistant because I was going through something, and I just kind of would isolate myself in this season. Mm-hmm. And I just remember going one night there and just being, we had recently had the loss of a good friend, Dale Lawson, mm-hmm. who had died in a car accident. This is probably 98.
Yeah.
And that was a rough year that was about to hit us too, with, mm-hmm. as Micah shared on his testimony on another episode with his dad and mom passing away. It was just a dark season. I remember coming to your house just kind of done. Like I'm existing only in my faith. And I remember you guys laid hands on me, Ryan, and just began praying encouragement. Yeah. And you have your little defining moments that awaken you. Mm-hmm. I still remember being in that little in-between room where the piano was. Mm-hmm. And just something, I feel chills now saying it, just my brothers wrapping me in just comfort. Y'all sense what I was going through. It's like getting prayed for, but you're being hugged at the same time in every appropriate way you can imagine. Yeah. And I'm just feeling this, it wells up. It's like that well, literally it wells up within you. And the level of love, comfort, and encouragement that hit me on that night. I mean, I remember the smile coming back to my face. Yeah. That was an impactful night for me. And there was a breakthrough I experienced at your house. And it's those little moments, mm-hmm. like you played such a great part in that for me. Like when your brother was down, like you lifted my spirit.
Thank you for sharing that.
And just, I don't, yeah.
Do you remember that? Do you remember that moment?
I remember one night specifically where it was really, really powerful at Mom and Dad's. Mm-hmm. And that must have been that night.
And I wasn't one to be very vulnerable then. Yeah. I had this, as we were talking a while ago, I did have these things. I will start the things and then we grow it. And that started from our bands, anything. I'm usually that entrepreneur who will launch it. Mm-hmm. With that came some spiritual uppityness, I guess you could say. Like I didn't want to come across weak. And so I never really, even Rhett, my best friend over here, it was years before I would get certain vulnerabilities coming out because I almost saw it in the right way. Like
we didn't know how to communicate.
You got to be strong. I didn't know how to. I didn't know how to be vulnerable.
Is it safe to say that you almost maybe put a little more pressure on yourself than what you should have?
Oh, big time, Ryan. Yeah, big time. And because I hadn't had a leader who actually said like, "Man, guys, I struggle." Yeah. All I saw on a platform was perfection, at least perceived perfection. Mm-hmm. So I thought if I would have opened up to you guys, it would have been like, oh, he's not the guy we thought.
Well, that's the end of the ministry because he struggles with whatever,
Well, and I did have a friend one time who I began opening up to, and I don't know if it was oversharing or maybe he wasn't ready for it because he may have thought the same way I did. I'll never forget sharing this with him. Some of this stuff that I'm going through, we were at Barnes & Noble at the Summit in Birmingham, Alabama, and we're talking, and probably 2 or 3 conversations, he's learning like, wow, this guy's got issues he's going through. Mm-hmm. And I remember one day he was like, man, I never really thought you were like this. But he said it kind of it's like he met a hero and learned that it's not really the hero he thought. I was so over pedestaled. But because I kind of enjoyed that, it's like it hurt my heart. Mm-hmm. Almost like, God, I don't want to be seen that I'm weak or deal with this stuff. Right. And so I didn't naturally open up to people. So even though I had a breakthrough on that night, I don't know that even though it was a great breakthrough, I don't know that I knew to go back and be like, hey, Ryan, like, thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Like, you don't realize what I've been going through. And I put a lot on myself. And I think that's something we all naturally do. And I'm thankful for the vulnerability that people are really awakening to. Yeah.
It goes back to kind of like, I think about the way we were raised. We didn't really see that in the home. So where else could we have learned it? Yeah. We didn't have anybody teaching us that. But that moment, man, I remember those moments at your house, man. And I know you said Mom and Dad's house. Was that over Springville Road?
That was Tyler Loop Road.
Tyler Loop Road.
In Chalkville.
Chalkville. Pinson, somewhere in there. Yeah, yep. Wow. and the piano, and I'll never forget sitting there. I just watch you. I was mesmerized by just watching you play piano. The boy like, well, man, ain't no big deal. I'm like, freak.
It's so true.
You know, and you were never did it in a prideful way. It was just like, you know, just no big deal. And I was like, Lord Jesus, if I can just have half that anointing right there,
man,
just give me that.
He just naturally had it.
Yeah, you inspired me tremendously to learn how to play
I didn't just naturally have that. I used to get my butt whipped with a belt if I didn't practice 45 minutes a day.
Seriously. Well, that's something you never shared.
I've never heard that. Well, there's some honesty.
Hour of vulnerability.
Welcome to Armchair Authentic.
Yeah, little did I know that we had a timer on the piano, and I would reach up there. It was one of those little mechanical timers. You could move it back a little bit with your hand, and I didn't want to practice for 45 minutes that day. I want to go outside and shoot hoops or you know, juggle the soccer ball. I'd creep that little sucker back a little bit, 5-10 minutes.
Yeah.
Then eventually Mom kind of figured out what I was doing, and she would set the timer on the piano. Then she would go into the kitchen and set the timer on the oven.
2 different timers.
Exactly.
That's smart.
Yeah. Did you turn that timer back? No, ma'am.
Yeah.
Dang.
Liar. You know,
well, it turned out, man. I mean, you know, there's definitely fruit from that, which I'm sure you're grateful for now. I'm looking at it differently. Hey, friends, just want to take a moment and say, if you are enjoying today's conversation, could you do us a huge favor? Would you take a moment and copy the link from your favorite podcast platform and share it with a friend? Email it to a friend. How about airdropping it over to your buddy or your sister right now? Man, that would mean so much to us. Thank you. All right, guys, back to the conversation.
Me and Rev have talked about this on the podcast before, but there was kind of like a couple of years of separation where we just we didn't talk a lot. There was just some stuff that we were going through in our own way. Me personally, I was going through. But one thing I do remember in that season was it wasn't replacement. You know, Rhett, no one will replace Rhett.
Yeah.
But it wasn't replace. It wasn't like a rebound kind of deal. It was our relationship had been growing to a certain level. And we began just kind of playing together a little bit, just piano, guitar. And so those are obviously really, really special. But one of the things that I remember is one of my first bookings. Like I was ready to relaunch it after after 24/7 had disbanded. I kind of had to go through a healing season, and then I was ready to launch again something. I didn't know what to call it. So it was just like His Image Ministries or whatever. And so me and you began to go play.
Yeah.
And do you remember this? I got booked for a financial conference in Mobile.
Yes, I do. I know every word of where you're about to go.
And
with
I
this
told,
story.
I've never heard this story. I'm leaning in.
and I like to when I go do things, I like to have people come with me, and I love to almost contract you in where I'm going to pay you something so that you're getting something out of it too, and we're going to have a great time because we love doing life together.
Yeah.
So I had already told Ryan hey, you know, I'm going to give you at least this amount, but it will be a percentage of the other amount if it's more than that.
Yeah.
Ryan would have done it for free. We were just going. We had our hotel room. We went to this financial conference, and I'm not going to say the name of the financial ministry.
We do this. Say it for me and then edit it out. Okay.
So we went to this financial conference. They had me in to lead worship. They had me and Ryan in really to lead worship on keys, guitar. It was going to be awesome. They put us up in this, you know, like a little hotel, all that. We did probably, 4 or 5 sessions. And then we would go sit and just kind of wait for our time to come back up. And I guess maybe learn a thing or two about finances, I guess.
Yeah,
I don't know. I could honestly,
dream, baby.
I could have cared less.
Yeah. At that age. Yeah.
I didn't care. But I was there to do this. Like we were doing ministry. I thought it was so cool to get to travel 4 hours. We drove, our car. So now's the time that we're going to leave. You're kind of, whenever you do bookings, when you're kind of green at it too, I didn't know how to handle those. So there was nothing in writing. There was no signatures.
Again, you had no one teaching you how to do this. You were figuring it out on your own.
I was figuring out. There's been a lot of failure by figuring out on my own over the years.
Yep, me too.
And I remember the guys walking us to the car. And basically I was like, Ryan, you can go ahead and get in because we're going to handle our business now. The guy's going to come to me. He's going to hand me the check.
19-year-old, yeah.
So I'm talking to him. Hey, it's a really great time. He's like, yeah, hey, man, thank you guys. This was amazing. Like, man, well, let's do it again. keeping the convo going. There's nothing being handed to me. Now there's like a handshake. I'm like, oh, okay, he's got the check and he's going to do a little handshake move.
The Holy Ghost handshake.
It's not a check, it's cash. He's going to give it to me in the handshake.
Yeah. I remember shaking his hand and nothing's in there. I'm kind of digging a pinky in there just to try to fill it out. He's
like, why are you feeling me weird? Like, why are your fingers like kind of palming my palm?
Why are you not letting go of my hand right now?
This is weird.
And so we shook hands. Nothing's in the hand. We kind of separate, and I just stand there
looking at him.
And he says, hey, thanks again, man. I think this financial conference was a success. Thank you.
I hope it was. Where's my finances?
Yeah, they weren't good stewards of their finances, were they?
And he turned around. He walked off. I get in the car. And Ryan's like, everything okay? I think I did get vulnerable here. Because I was like, Ryan, they didn't give me a dang thing. And I still, obviously, I wanted to honor my word with you. I still paid you. You didn't want it, but I did. But all I remember is thinking, like, I just went a couple of $100 in the hole.
You just learned a valuable lesson.
Like I spent all the gas money to get there.
Yep.
All the gas money to get back. I buy, usually when I take someone with me, I buy every meal on the journey there, every meal on the journey back. Thankfully, it's just $200 back then when you could eat fast food for like $5 a piece. Or I would have been majorly in the hole. But $200, that was a lot of money.
Yeah.
And I just remember thinking, wow. But those are those moments. But I remember that night, though, where at the financial conference that completely ripped us off. That was so weird. Anyway, I digress. I do remember us going, like at night, there'd be like a pier.
Yeah.
Oh, those are just some.
That's where I thought he was going with the story. Okay. I had no idea. I was like, I know exactly where you're going with the story.
No, I took the negative. I went to the lesson.
And it's so
learned.
glad that he said I would have done it for free, because I don't even remember anything about that financial part. I was like, Justin is going to go down this vineyard creation call, sitting on the pier and us having that moment together.
Okay. But the point that you were going to take, it was on that pier. That's where that release. Like I went and did that event because it was like a booking that I didn't force. It just happened. Clearly didn't cost them anything. But
they were on the winning end of this thing.
But I do remember being on the pier. Yeah. And it was almost like a healing.
It was
that healing wind. And it was almost a release to launch.
It was amazing that we just let it go that fast.
What do you mean?
The fact that they didn't pay us.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. I'm kind of hearing a little bit of issue from Justin.
I think he's still got a little animosity there. You know?
They ripped me off. You know, like, I try to get back into the character
but
of
you're
that
right.
year.
I'm kidding.
I mean, it's amazing. You pour yourself out for others in an environment and a ministry moment like that. You know, get disappointed, but I remember that moment because we loved that creation call song.
Oh yeah,
we'd packed up, and did you carry your guitar out there on the pier? And we just sat there
everywhere,
the two of us,
just worshiping,
and we just worshiped together.
That's awesome.
Like it was an amazing moment.
It was that release to launch. Like it was almost a release of, all right, you can keep doing this. Yeah. And that was almost like a permission in my spirit I was waiting for. But that was, so I guess if you want to think of the payment, that was very, very valuable moment that we got by going down there.
It was.
But you were such a part of that moment. And it would be, we would go home and keep playing. And then at that moment, Rhett, we began to kind of not rekindle. We'd always been together, but we began actually playing music again together. I remember you went and bought like a very expensive bass.
I don't even remember. Yeah,
was it Red?
Is that when his image?
It was Red, wasn't it?
And his
I
image.
don't even remember there
ministry,
really being an invite to that. It was like
we just began jamming. It was natural, and then we shifted from His Image Ministries. Actually, we didn't plan the name, but I'll give his name right now. Darren Davis, who fast forward it would later end up being one of the original guys that Pastor Chris Hodges at Church of the Highlands met. And he helped really get a lot of the church going. He was a guy who lived in Birmingham. Well, before any of that in the late 90s, we would go do these, like some of these worship events. And I remember meeting him at this conference one time, or this worship night. And so he was like the youth pastor over it. We did our worship thing. Rhett, it was me, you, Ryan, Billy, Jack, Kirk.
Yeah.
And at that time, it was just like, we would just go under the name Justin Bradshaw, but I didn't want my name out there. And I remember telling the guy, he was like, what's the name that you want me to introduce? I was like, listen, we really were just his image. Like, don't really say my name. And he got up to the stage and he was like, well, y'all, hey, please welcome His Image Band.
His Image Band.
I did not know that. There you go.
That's how we got our name.
The Wonders.
Yeah. The Oneaters.
The Oneaters. No, it's the Wonders. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
And that's how His Image Band came to be, because through that, I began getting phone calls when we started getting bookings, but they were booking His Image Band. So it just kind of stayed His Image Band until we would later.
And we got a ton of memories around that for sure. Man, but then obviously college life and different things begin to happen. And then would you be willing to share a little bit of your journey to where you are now today? I mean, like, dude, I know there's been a lot. There's a lot. There's a lot. I'm not asking you to go into extreme detail with everything, but I mean, here you are. I mentioned earlier, you're a great, single father raising Gage. Come on, man.
Yeah.
Like, incredible young man. And so, like, what's that experience like? Because I know there's people on the other end of this thing going, hey, life kind of threw me some stuff that I really wasn't expecting, found myself in a situation, and, but yet those kind of things have happened to you, and you've made choices.
I don't think there's enough time in the podcast to be able to go down everything, but I can try to at least hit the high points or low points.
Well, I think it would, no, because I'm trying to set this up because I think people need to understand that there's so much depth to you as a individual. Yeah. But even with the choices that you've decided to make with ownership and just, the dad thing, man, because I come from a household with a single dad. Justin comes from a household with a single dad. Yeah. And so here you are as a single dad raising a teenager at this point. You know, kind of going through, all the stuff that comes along with that, you know. And I wish I could say it was always rainbows, butterflies, and unicorns for me. But, I gave my dad a lot of headaches. But yet I look at my life and I feel like, although I didn't have what I thought I should have, I wouldn't be who I am today without it. Yeah. And I'm so grateful for that. So when I see you making the same decisions that my dad made and that Justin's dad made to just be the dad that you are, it's just, nobody's perfect. I'm not trying to build you up, put you on a platform, because nobody gets it right all the time. But I'm just really proud of you, man, as a friend.
Well, thank you.
And I think it would encourage other people to look at it and hear maybe just a little bit of just kind of, your journey into that.
Well, I appreciate
where you are today.
Yeah. Now I kind of know where you're wanting me to go with it. So I got a better idea of where I should start. So it was probably about 2015 is when I got custody of my son.
Okay.
And it was, I think it's probably February or March. He lived with his grandparents a little while until school was out because we didn't want to take him out of the school. And then he came to live with me probably May. And I was at Grandview Media Group then as a publisher. Yeah. We published a lot of hunting magazines, nationwide titles.
Yeah.
And they had been going through changes. So it was May of 2015 when Gage came to live with me. June 30th of 2015, they called me in and they laid me off.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
You were there, and you were there a long time.
Oh, buddy, yeah. I've been there a long time.
Yeah.
And so I had a nice severance. They paid me out on all the commissions for the last issues that I'd sold. So I had a really nice cushion. I'd never had custody of a kid. Heck, I never even had anybody that lived with me before, really,
Yeah. I mean, you and I were roommates. For a little bit. Yeah. But outside of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it was like, man, I've been an every other weekend type father. And then all of a sudden my son is just, he's in the home with me every second. So because of the cushion that I had, I said, look, let's take this summer and not go so hard in trying to fill out applications and find a new job. Let's just take a break and let me spend every day with him. And I think that created that foundation, After that, anybody in print publishing out there, I'm sorry if you're listening to this, but
which by the way, we haven't said this. Your marketing and your business side of the acumen is so high level in what you've done.
Thank you,
brother. On such a
he's always had it
ridiculous high level with incredible businesses.
Yes,
your marketing genius and creativity and salesmanship, and you just have so much high value to bring in the business world.
Yeah, thank you.
So yeah.
But yeah, I had opportunities to get back into print publishing, and I kind of saw the direction of where technology was going, and if there were publishers that weren't making the transition to digital, I was like, there's no interest for me because there's no future in it.
Yeah.
And I was lucky enough to have a friend that owned a digital marketing company here in Birmingham. I went and worked for them for a year. It was a new, young company. They were thriving, but I don't know if there was great leadership there, a clear-cut 5-7 year plan where they were going. Kind of some things rubbed me the wrong way. And so I left there. And I was going to start my own marketing company. And I went to the publisher of the Trustful Tribune. And I said, I've got all these years, sales experience. Do you mind if I sell straight commission for you on the side? Well, little did I know that a large portion of business owners in the Trustful area were people that I'd graduated high school with. So I'm walking into the door of these businesses and I'm like, oh, hey, Kenley,
Yeah, you know these guys.
Yeah, I'm working at the Tribune. Here's what they're doing. And needless to say, I ended up being the VP of sales and marketing at the Tribune. I was there 7 years. Yeah. I did everything under the sun you can possibly imagine. They never had great reporters, but it was mostly, in print or online.
Yeah.
And they had 58,000 followers, something like that on Facebook. And a lot of these small businesses didn't really have a good avenue to advertise their business. So I used that as an opportunity to go out and do these interviews with these small town business owners.
I remember seeing it on Facebook. Hey, I'm Ryan Jennings. I'm here with the owner of blah, blah, blah company. You got to come out. Hey, Jim, tell them the special today. Well, we got a $2.99 catfish dinner only, between $6 and whatever, $2.99, $10.99. If you come down and buy right now, this is some pretty dresses over here. Look at these. This is Sister Sally over here with Sally's dresses. That sure is a pretty dress there, Miss Sally. Did you make that yourself? I don't know. I just remember that. I was like, dang, I was living in, I don't know where I was at this point in life, but I was like, come on, Ryan, you're crushing it, man. This is Alabama at its best, but it works.
That was awesome. That was such a blessing. It was probably 5 months into it, and I realized, what am I trying to do to build this business? I just need to go sell advertising, for the local newspaper, and I can make a living off of it.
Hey guys, Rhett here. Just want to take a moment and say thank you to every single one of you who have taken the time to follow us on social media. Now, if today is your first time to join us for an episode, man, we want to say welcome, friends. It's so good to have you with us. Could you take a moment, look us up on Instagram or Facebook? You can find us there at Armchair Authentic, or you can go on over to X, find us there as well at Armchair Auth Pod. That's Armchair Auth, AUTHPOD. All right. Now back to the conversation.
It was flexible. Gage was 7-8 years old, getting off the school bus at 3:00 every afternoon.
Right.
Yeah.
So there was, it had that flexibility. And in that time, while I was at the Tribune, it was laid on my heart. It's funny that y'all brought up soccer at the beginning of the podcast, because I saw an opportunity with how many memories were created from playing soccer. And now that I'm older, wiser, I wanted to be able to give back. Went and got my coaching license and got hired as a coach, a competitive soccer coach.
Oh, wow.
And that supplemented my income. So I had the flexibility to be home with Gage. I was able to give back with coaching to the sport that I grew up loving and playing. Yeah. And so it was great.
Can I pause there for a minute?
Sure.
I don't know if younger people are listening to this. It doesn't take rocket science to figure out that you have grit, that you have grind, and you have the ability to, you're disciplined, you're going to get things done, and you'll create something from nothing.
Yeah.
That says a lot about who you are as an individual and as a leader. To, you mentioned, here I am, I'm a father now, never had done this before, figure it out. I'm without a job, but man, you spent time with him, but yet now you're hitting the ground running. You're creating things for people that never even thought you'd think outside the box. Yeah. You're always constantly just making things happen where other people would sit around and go, well, I'm just sit around and do nothing. I guess life sucks and I'm just going to be a victim the rest of my life. Woe is me. I'll live on unemployment. No, you're like, by God, get out of my way. I'm going to go kill something today and bring it home. Because not only am I a man to take care of me, I've got a son to take care of. And you owned it, baby.
Yeah, thank you, man.
And it says a lot about who you are. So I don't want to interrupt your story, but that's what I'm hearing. I'm hearing, man, this is a man who's just stepped out and is like, we're just going to see God show up, but I'm not going to sit around and just say, well, I'm waiting on God. No, you're out there getting it done, and God's showing up at every step you take.
Yeah. I'm a firm believer in, in regard to success, he'll meet you halfway, you know. In regard to spiritual life, all you got to do is take one step and he'll come running. But on the business side of things, like he's going to bless. What do we say a lot? You get what you give.
Yeah.
You know,
reap what you sow, you get what you give. It's good.
So anyway, after the Tribune, I was there 7 years. It's funny how life comes full circle. One of the people that I used to sell to when I was in the publishing business, a buddy of mine named Chase Rolfson, shout out to Chase if he gets a chance to listen to this. He owned an advertising agency in Iowa called Rubline Marketing. And he hit me up and said, man, I've grown this company and I need somebody to come up here and be an account manager and take care of a lot of these accounts that I've worked so hard to get. Mm-hmm. You're the best account manager I've ever had. You never let me miss an artwork deadline, a print deadline. You would call me ahead of time, let me know, hey, this due date is coming up. I don't want you to miss it. And he was like, what's it going to take to get you engaged up here to Iowa? So I told him, would you be willing? And I said, man, the agency life, that's what I would love that, because it wouldn't be relying on selling something in order to provide a paycheck. Mm-hmm. It would be more of taking care of somebody, taking care of a client, and it was negotiating TV contracts, working with social media influencers, doing packaging, trade show booth design, meta ads, Google ads, email campaigns. Mm-hmm. Like when I went up there, it quadrupled my professional skill set. Like there was a reason behind me going up there. Yeah. And I embraced it. And Rhett, you talk a lot about, my interaction with people and drive and that sort of thing. The people in that town, Traer, Iowa, they are some of the most salt of the earth people I have ever seen in my entire life. They embraced us. They loved on us. We loved on them. It was an incredible experience. And then just so happened, Chase, he had a 24-year-old, a 21-year-old, and a 6-year-old little daughter. Wow. And I would imagine that he missed a lot of those ballpark moments and things like that when he was trying to form the company. And he's got this cute little blonde, 6-year-old daughter. Yeah. Daddy. Oh. And he had an opportunity to sell the company. He sold the company. And the new owners came in. No judgment against them. Best of luck to you guys. But they had to do what they felt was right for the company. So they cut the top 3 salaried employees. Mm. And I happened to be one of them. Yeah. So it's, and that happened in almost a year to the date. Man, it's been a year.
Can't believe it.
And you've been through a lot. Then obviously another transition you weren't expecting to happen, and here you are back in Alabama.
You had just bought several jackets and snow boots.
Got my snow tires on the truck.
And then
get to move back home. It's funny. I was sitting there playing golf a couple of days ago, and I said, "Man, I forgot what this humidity felt like. It's crazy.
It's real, baby.
It's crazy.
It wasn't too bad yesterday.
It felt good yesterday.
Yeah, it's good."
But man, it's interesting to see. I mean, just to sit here on this podcast and reflect about what all has happened, and beginning with Justin's conversation about, face down in the pine straw, worshiping the Lord. Over the years, there's been some in and outs. But one thing that I've maintained, I get up every morning and I do a devotional. Every single morning. Some days it stays with me all day. Some days I forget what I read about and studied on by the time I walk out the door, but that foundation that happened so long ago, and then just a daily commitment, just an effort.
It's good, man.
Just a little effort. Mm-hmm. I can look back and I can go, man, God's been there through every step. Mm. And there's been some dark nights, there's been some tears shed. Yeah. But, I couldn't have done it. I couldn't have done it if I didn't have that relationship with Jesus, and that daily commitment just to spend a little bit of time with him.
And so, Ryan, now that you're back here, tell us, just so it can give a shout out to what you're doing now. Like, what does that look like? And then we'll hit on some other fun topics.
Okay.
But go ahead and give the shout out and finish that story. Like you came back to Birmingham, Alabama.
Yeah, came back to Birmingham, had a couple of opportunities. It's been a very short time. Yes, it may seem like I'm a job hopper, but I think that was me. That was God testing me to see if I had patience to allow him to work out what I was supposed to be doing. Mm-hmm. And it was probably March, a longtime friend of mine, Shane Ray. He's a mortgage broker for 30 years with Hometown Mortgage. He started flipping homes a few years ago. And through that process, he started putting on a few roofs in the process. Mm-hmm. He is a godly man. He loves Jesus, full surrender. God has done an incredible work in his life. And so he knew he wanted to get this roofing company off the ground. So the name of the company is Hometown Roofing and Restorations. We're based out of Leeds, Alabama, but we service the greater Birmingham metro area and all of central Alabama. I mean, basically from Anniston to Jasper, you know. Yeah. And it's amazing, man. Like you hear these grandiose stories of Christian business owners, and I listen to guests that you guys have had on the podcast, the guy from Yellowhammer.
Jeff Roberts.
Some of the other ones. And, you know, there's just always been this longing for me to be able to do something I'm good at, help people, and then have a team around me that loves Jesus, that loves to serve. Yeah. And so that's kind of what's happened with Hometown. Little backstory, you guys, the way that I know Shane, this is another relationship and community connecting type story, networking. My childhood best friend, Keith Posey, shout out to Keith.
Come on, Keith.
Grew up at his house, basically spent the night over there. I'm basically ingrained into his family in every facet imaginable.
When I met him, I realized I really could not sing. I was like, holy crap, is this what a real singer sounds like? Oh, yeah. I'm over here going, and he's like, you know, I'm like, oh, wow.
If you could see the camera shot, you would you would have seen these girls oohing and awing, and the camera would have kept going, and you would have saw us oohing and awing.
Yeah. Keith, it's like the
amazing
vocalist. Like those lambs that go, you know. Anyways, anyway, that's just shout out to Keith.
Keith's cousin Holly is married to Shane, and my business partner, our CEO and president at Hometown. So I've known Shane for 30 years. And he's watched the growth, professionally, spiritually, and everything. And he called me and he said, "Hey, man, I want to take this roofing thing to the next level, and I need you."
Yeah.
And
come on, man.
So we worked it out, and we've got a small group that meets every Thursday morning, and it's biblical. And it's the definition of a men's small group, an iron sharpen iron, no judgment.
Yeah.
Kind of like we say, we wish we had somebody like that when we were younger at going to the park and stuff. Yeah. And so we've got that.
That's awesome.
And then we have our Monday morning meeting, and every time that we have a meeting, we begin with prayer. And the heart really is, I told you yesterday on the golf course, I hate cliche church terms, but God, family first. That is how we operate.
Yeah.
And it's been really amazing. Whether it's myself, one of the other partners, Curtis Freeman, God's really doing a lot in his life. Curtis will go to a job site, and just that spirit of the Lord is on him. And I don't say job site, but maybe sales call. Sales call, and it might be a little old lady, and he's just tenderhearted. We're not trying to scam people. There's that genuine passion to try to help somebody.
I call it a serve call.
Yeah. Whether they do business with us or not, And so we got the job, and the roof got put on. She was extremely happy. And, this Curtis is telling this story in a Monday morning meeting, and he's telling the story, and he goes, she called me this morning, and he starts crying, and she goes, "I just want you to know, I loved working with you, and I feel like there's a connection there, and I just don't want this to be the last time I hear from you."
Oh,
sweet. And
anointed.
He's talking about that in our small group with tears running down his face and saying, God is really in this. He's really a part of our company and what we're doing.
Yeah.
And it's such a blessing to like
so
connected.
go through all that stuff that I've been through.
Yeah. To prepare
then
you for this moment.
0 roofing experience.
Yeah, you don't need it. You've got people experience all day long.
It's
Connection,
just,
man.
it is
Yeah.
flat out amazing. And
You're connecting.
Yeah.
You're connecting, and then your aspirations are all in this, and you're using your gift sets.
Yeah.
But had you not gone through all of that, you probably wouldn't appreciate kind of where you are at this
Appreciate
moment.
where it is,
You might be
yeah.
looking beyond there, thinking, well, this is just another, stepping on the ladder. But it's wow, you can appreciate things in a different way.
Yeah.
Having gone through what you've gone through.
And you
for
don't
sure.
have to be in ministry to be in ministry.
Come on,
That's
man.
right.
No,
It's
absolutely.
a beautiful thing, man.
Yeah.
Well, that's what, Ryan, you're such a, like the connection side, it's to know Ryan is to love Ryan. I mean, because it's, we've had all these great stories and they're all tied to like the connections that we've had. And, I can think back how you're just naturally you've had that cells, not in a weird way, not the yuck way. It's just, you're naturally good at it. And I still can remember us driving down the road. 459. Me and you were big fans of a band called Caveman's Call. Oh, yeah. Some of their old stuff. I mean, I still just go to the old stuff and listen to it.
Oh, I do too.
Yeah, but there was was it 40 Acres, I think was the album, had this green album cover. And at the same time, I mean, we hadn't been listening to music. Me and Ryan are just driving down the road talking.
Yeah.
And you know how you just hit those lulls where it's just quiet and you're just enjoying the company. I mean, Rhett, it is as if you queued it up. At the same time we went, Danny and I spent another late night over pancakes. And that's a line from one of their songs. And we could not believe it. We erupted in laughter. And Ryan, you won't remember this detail. I know that this is where I geek out over details. But me and you, we were laughing. We were literally on our way to go find a field just to kick the soccer ball together. Yeah. And we decided that night, we had just really His Image Band, we were just starting to have some bookings. Yeah. And I don't know why we decided that night, we were like, let's record an album. And we didn't have any money. And I don't know if you remember this. We went to my house and I met with my dad.
I was with you.
You were in the living room.
Really?
Yeah. And I went into the bedroom to talk to my dad.
You got the spirit of Ryan Jennings on you
This
all of a
is
sudden.
actually-
You're going to
yeah.
sell your dad
Exactly.
on this idea.
Well,
Do the band.
That's where that story's going.
Ryan
Get
has
a
sold
trailer
me
and all the
on.
equipment.
This wasn't that one. That was the second one that he got me to.
Okay.
This was a very inexpensive compared to our second
Second endeavor.
But no, I remember asking Dad, we needed to, and we found a guy who was going to record it on the cheap. And shout out to Todd.
Todd Fisher.
Todd Fisher.
Yep.
And I remember we priced out what it would cost to make a CD, get the shrink wrap, the album, all that stuff, and it was right at $3,000. And I remember meeting with Dad. I said, Dad, can we
That might as well have been $8,000 or $9,000 today.
could I would you give me $3,000? Well, Justin, that's a lot of money.
Put me in the poorhouse,
Why?
Justin.
Yeah. It's funny because he always taught like that growing up, and he went through a shift.
Yeah, he did.
And he was like, what do you need it? I said, written some songs. We'll get the band. We're starting to play. Would love to record an album. Yeah. And he said, okay. It's not normal.
Okay.
But he said, all right, when do you need it? I said, well, we need to go line up the dates, but I'll probably need it in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And he said, all right. And guys, I know if you're listening, that's just not normal. And not everybody has a dad who would do that. And we don't come from money.
Yeah.
It was just the father, investing in his son, and he had the ability to. But it's neat because I tell that story now. I haven't told that one before because I have the guy sitting at the other end of the table who you were such a catalyst for this. Yeah. And I felt the comfort to go ask.
Wow.
And it was probably the seed that I needed later, Rhett, because me and Ryan would later play in a band called Faith or Remain.
Those are the leather pants, long hair days. That's a whole nother conversation for a whole nother day.
Leather pants, other hair, another conversation.
I wasn't a part of that one.
But Ryan got the band fired up for releasing an album. I wasn't even there that day. And the day that I get there to practice, everybody's like, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to buy a sound system. We're going to get a trailer. We're going to release an album. We're going to go on tour. And I loved it that y'all were thinking that way.
Yeah.
And I thought, come on, let's
Come
do
on,
it.
baby, let's go.
And then it's funny because we filled out the paperwork at the bank because we were going to put collateral down and go get a loan from the bank. And I remember when we got to it, no one was ready to put anything out except Jeremy Wooden was ready to go with me. But we didn't have enough collateral to get anything. This is like 2002. 2002.
I had just moved to Texas at this point.
You had just left. We had
I had
just
dipped, ducked, and dived.
We
I'm
had
out.
just changed our name after you had left. We ended up changing our name. We got
You're welcome.
Stephen Frugier to play bass. And I remember calling my dad one night. I was doing a youth rally at a local camp, and I called him. I remember there was no signal on the phone, and I called him. I had one bar. I'm like, Dad, I got a question for you.
Oh boy.
He said, what is it? And I said, would you, we priced it out. It was a little more than $3.
A little more than $3.
Yeah.
So, Dad, you got some collateral that you could help me get a loan for $23,000? And he went, why do you need this? And I told him it's for the band. And this is no shot at the band.
No.
But he did say, he was like, yes, I'll do it. I said, are you serious? He said, yeah. I said, Dad, you don't know what it means to me that you believe in us as a band. He said, I don't believe in the band.
I believe in you.
He said, I believe in you.
Yeah, that's good.
Amazing,
Yeah,
brother.
There you go, man.
And that got
Thank you,
us
Bill.
pushed forward, and we ended up taking out the loan.
Yeah.
We got all the stuff.
Yeah.
And we later end up disbanding, and we wanted to make sure we paid the rest of our loan off, which we killed it, by the way. We were playing shows. We would be 2 years ahead on payments. And I'm about to give you a last name as we wrap this up. Okay. Because when we ended up disbanding, I was going to sell the rest of the equipment to just go ahead. I was going to give someone a sweet deal. I just wanted to get it for the remaining balance of the banknote.
Yeah.
Even though we didn't owe another payment for 2 years.
Yeah.
And it would end up being, I got a call from Lester Robinson.
Oh, Pastor Lester.
Full circle,
the name
baby.
came back.
Circle.
Full circle.
Oh, wow.
And
That's
I
crazy.
sold it to him because he was launching like a ministry that he was going to travel with. And he bought our trailer. He bought our sound system. Lester Robinson, who we started this talk out
As the
with
pastor
at
of
the
the covenant.
same church that you ended up rededicating your life.
Yeah. Wow.
That is crazy.
Crazy.
Ooh, what
And
a
on,
good story.
and on that, due to time, we need to wrap it up. But I do want to give you an opportunity. Now, we didn't do this like as a special guest and like, hey, man, we want you to come on here and advertise. Like, we're not doing that. Now, if you get a seller or somebody calls you on this, we definitely gonna have a conversation. Okay.
Sponsored by.
So I just want you to know that what's your owner's name of Hometown Roofing?
Shane Ray.
All right, Shane Ray, we're going to be sending you an invoice of sorts. All right. But,
I'm expecting more from you, Shane, than that financial ministry.
But we're going to have an ongoing conversation. Maybe you have Shane back on here. But anyway, I do want you to get for you because we believe in you,
Thank you.
right? I believe in you. I don't know these guys, but we believe in you. So
Definitely.
I know to help a brother out, man. Like if somebody's in the greater Birmingham area, and there's a leak in their roof, or maybe there's some storm damage from hell, or they just don't know who to call, and they've listened to this podcast, or like, man, I'm just trying to find somebody I can trust that has my best interest at heart, not just trying to sell me on something I don't even need.
Yeah.
How do they get a hold of you, bro?
Well, first of all, I want them to know that, we're here to serve. We'll give you a consult, and you don't have to do business with us at all. We just want to help you, give you the answers that you're looking for. And if you feel comfortable and if you'd like to hire us, we're there for you. The phone number is 205-984-4777. That's 205-984-4777. You can find us at htsroofers.com or find us on social media, Hometown Roofing and Restorations.
Awesome. Hey, look them up, baby.
Fantastic time
Fantastic.
being with you, buddy.
Thanks for having me,
Love you
guys.
so
Got
much, man.
friends around the table.
This is a blast.
Hey, and this will not, Lord willing, be the last time we do this.
He's too good on the microphone.
Yeah, bro. Yeah, all the crap coming in earlier this morning. Oh, but I ain't done this in forever. I don't know if I can do this.
Whatever. He was
like,
down
whatever.
selling
You guys
us.
make me feel comfortable. I mean,
He was
come
like, I'm going to undersell them and blow them away.
Yeah, I am a little disappointed though because you didn't talk about how good my golf game is. So outside of that,
Oh,
I will say
man,
that.
I'm
No,
so
I'm
sorry.
just kidding.
Well,
kidding.
you got it back because evidently you slammed my soccer playing.
Oh yeah,
And Ryan walks out the winner.
yeah, no. Yeah, we'll talk about that on the next episode. Until then, God bless. We love you guys. Thanks for being with us today.
Hey Hey, friends, thank you so much for joining us on today's conversation. We cannot wait until our next episode that drops next Monday. So until then, we hope you have a great day. Stay safe, and we will see you soon right here with your friends, Rhett and Justin at Armchair Authentic.